Welcome to Sovereign Vision Temple. This is Skyra. I am Skyra. And today I want to talk about disassociation. It's a heavy term, but it's really important to understand what this means and why it's so common. And so on this channel, I help to bring awareness of the holistic approach to the remembrance of our already whole and healed body, mind, and spirit, so that we may rebirth and restore and experience a soul reclamation. So an aspect of our collective awakening at this time is that perhaps we wake up and we're experiencing dissatisfaction, we're experiencing anxiety, we're experiencing feeling unhappy, a lot of stress, a lot of disease and sickness and depression, mostly a lot of depression and even addictions, because we feel like something's missing and we want to figure out how to stop our suffering. So most people will start seeking outside. They'll start looking outward and trying to figure out or seek the medical system, which they end up putting us on medications that is a temporary relief. I'm not saying that it's bad or good. I'm just saying that there is a way to heal the root cause that will to deal with these seemed experiences and our pain and our suffering that can be done in a natural way. This was also my story. I kept seeking outside and, was involved in all kinds of, working all the time, addictions, and always seeking outside of myself. And then I finally came to the realization that, and I didn't understand, because that's the way most of us are taught. It's nothing, it's not anything wrong. It's just that we're waking up to a different consciousness at this time and realizing that our healing is an inside job. It has to be done from the inside. So one part of my ability to help quickly help clients transform. I don't transform the clients transform themselves. I am just a facilitator for that. Is through my experiences as a trauma and somatic practitioner and using deep embodiment practices to create awareness and presence in our psyche and our body. I help clients heal addictions and depression, physical, emotional pain, repeated patterns that perpetuate that same situation or get out of relationships or situations or jobs, so that we can move into higher states of consciousness and expansion, experiencing miracles in our life. So I've discovered through my own process that we can't heal just one part of ourselves, because we are multidimensional. There are many aspects to our being. I've also discovered that the long endless list of diagnoses that we receive from the medical system creates great confusion, disempowerment, and fear amongst us to try to figure out what is wrong with us and discover the diagnosis and have a name for it. And the reality is that all of our health is all the same. We heal it the same way, and we can all access radiant health and wellness simply if we can just open our mind and remember to reconnect to our body, nature, and our higher power, God, divine, as our greatest healer. We must come to a place of love and forgiveness and presence while we release and are liberated, or liberate ourselves from old constructs and thoughts and beliefs that we were told to be true about ourselves, because not everyone's the same. Not everyone is here to be the same person. And a lot of times we grow up and we're born into a family and they have a certain belief system and a certain way of operating. And so we kind of get thrust into that belief system or that dysfunctional, traumatic experience, and forget that we are actually souls and we have unique missions. And we also have we get programmed. We get programmed into that belief system. So our job as an adult is to remember and break free from our mental suffering, and so that we may liberate ourselves. So disassociation is detachment or disconnection from sensory experiences, thoughts, emotions, our sense of self, or even personal experiences. It can also be detachment from immediate surroundings, involving a detachment from reality rather than a loss of a reality. So we're not losing reality, we're just detaching from the reality. And it can be experienced as leaving our body. We aren't present in our body. You know, we're disconnected from our body, and many women are disconnected from the throat down. Many people, we live in our mind, and we forget that we actually have a body, and we forget to breathe, and we forget to move and to feel our body. And a lot of times because we're actually in pain from our mental constructs and feelings of stuckness. So we tend to leave our body so that we don't have to feel the pain or the emotional experiences. So it's the inability or even the desire to not be present or not access presence. And we must have 4 areas operating together to be present, and that is, 1 is consciousness. The second is identity, our own identity. 3rd is being able to access our memory. And 4 is self-awareness of and awareness of our surroundings. As a trauma and somatics practitioner, with clients, I bring in the understanding of and how to regulate our nervous system, because that's key to our health. When we are disassociated or we are unable to regulate and get in, be in our body, and to be able to learn how we dysregulate, we stay in a dysregulated state. And that's going to be another training, actually, how it actually contributes to disease. So some symptoms of disassociation can include loss of time, amnesia, or it's the same thing, amnesia, loss of time, forgetting, we're not present, and we just all of a sudden, we could be driving even and just all of a sudden be somewhere else, or talking to somebody and not being fully present there and just not listening. Disconnection from social engagement, which is kind of the same thing I was just saying, is just, you're not really present in a conversation. You don't have the ability to listen and be present. We could have a fear of leaving the house. We could be experiencing some kind of a disease or pain, disconnection from the body, emotions, and physical sensations, which is what I just kind of went through. So what I do want to make clear with this is that there's no shame. We don't need to shame ourselves, and we don't need to shame anybody else. When we can understand the reasons that we are experiencing disassociation, addictions, we can have compassion. We can have compassion for ourselves and for others. And that is really going to help the healing process, because when we're beating ourselves up or beating other people up, we just can't access a place of love for ourselves. And it's actually our disassociation is our body's unique intelligence to protect itself, protect layers of our psyche, so that we something that might be too painful to remember or face alone, so we don't want to access that. So it serves to help us feel safe, and so that's why it's really important to work with someone outside of us in that respect. We have to do our own healing, and it comes from inside, but a lot of times we're unable to process our own trauma or access certain areas of our mental, which we could consider, say, ego, by ourselves, because sometimes we can't see our own patterns. And so when you work with somebody who specializes in this type of thing, it happens really quickly. We can see pretty quickly what's happening there just based off of what you're experiencing. So some ways we disassociate, which I am quite familiar with all of them in the past, and sometimes even now we all go into our own patterns, hopefully to a lesser extent as time goes, but all forms of addiction, and that can be drugs, alcohol, it can be shopping, it can be eating, it can be anything that is out of balance, that we're experiencing some kind of adverse effects from. Scrolling social media mindlessly. Now, if you're watching this channel, you're probably not scrolling mindlessly. You're probably really interested in your inner healing process, and your inner freedom and finding sovereignty in your life. So just wanted to say that. So gaming, mindlessly TV, and which is not, again, it's when it's out of balance, because there are times that we need to do things, and TV, there's nothing wrong with watching TV. It's just, what are we watching? What are we feeding our mind with? And how much are we doing that? And what are we neglecting to just sit and watch TV? One of the big ones, seeking objectified sexual experiences or porn. I will definitely get into more of that and more of speaking more about that. Changing outward appearances. One of my favorite ones used to be cutting my bangs. Or just anything, it's like just something like dramatic or different. And thrill seeking, overworking, which was another one. I was a work addict. Strict and regimented, and overly fascination with spiritual and religious practices. And one of the deeper ones that is hard to see in ourselves is projection and blame. So anything in excess that creates an imbalance will be created through, or that's a disassociation. So I kind of wanted to share a little bit about my own experiences, because that was a lot of information that I want to give the information so that there's an understanding, and where we can kind of access, some kind of place where we kind of relate, or we resonate with what these feelings of what this word means, is disassociation, and how is it affecting our life. And for myself, I did all of those things, disassociation, and sometimes it's we don't even realize we're doing it. It can become in forms of like wearing rose-colored glasses and not using discernment, putting up boundaries. Huge. We're unable to put up boundaries because we've experienced something, usually in our childhood, whether it's abuse, or a lot of it sexual abuse. We might experience physical abuse, where we have learned to protect our mental state and our psyche, so we can even stay. It's a way of protection. It's a way of protecting our psyche. But then it becomes a pattern. And then we grow up and we have all this pain, and we don't know really what to do with it. So we continue disassociating. And for myself, I spent years healing my alcohol addiction. At first it was and then I went, that's where it started. And then, years of pharmaceutical use for depression and anxiety. And this was all I knew. This was the only thing that my family, and that's what that's what everybody did. You go to the doctor and you get pills. And I had no knowledge whatsoever of anything holistic. It was just completely engulfed in the illusion. So I explained all these things. I woke up one day and I just realized that I was dying inside, that something had to change. And it took many years to work through the deep, deep layers. And mine also went into not only my life, but ancestral, healing ancestral patterns and trauma, because we carry that from like my mother and my grandmother, my father and his father. And it usually goes back at least 4 generations, and it could go back more, depends on how long that particular pattern has been in play. The religious community or religious would have called it sin, trauma, which it's the same thing. Sin is actually, I would think, is trauma. And we're here, we're experiencing it. We're all, we're finally waking up out of that duality in that place that we feel that we have to suffer, and realizing that we don't have to suffer in this lifetime. We can create heaven on earth right now. We just need to do the inner work, and get to the place where we can remember who we are, that we are divinely created, and we are created and part of, we are part of the divine, and we are love, and we just forgot. So if you're interested in connecting with me, I'll leave my information in the description. If you want to talk to me about doing some inner healing work, or I will be announcing an upcoming Rebirth Restore program for a group that you can join in, that I've been doing for many years on one-on-one clients. And so I'm really excited to be putting together a group program, because groups, and it'll be kind of a hybrid of groups and one-on-one, because there are some things that have to be accessed individually. And so I'm really excited about that coming up in January. And yeah, also you can connect with us on join the community. It's just my greatest desire in life to see people whole, and to know their own power and authority in their life, that we do not need to live in fear. We can understand that it doesn't have to be complicated. I want everyone to understand that it's kind of simple on how to, if you understand the parts of us that need to heal and how to access it, it doesn't have to be complicated. So anyway, I hope that helps, and look forward to any comments or any questions. This is a community. Please post comments and be sure to subscribe and like. It helps the channel to reach more people, to help them heal. So thank you so much for being here, and have a beautiful day. Aloha.